At this end of the spectrum, people argue that capitalism and the free market can solve the world's problems. We just have to let it. The government is at best a necessary evil and at worst a destructive force. But at the other end of the spectrum, people argue for modern socialism. Concerned that an unchecked market will produce rampant inequality, they call on the government to regulate the market to produce fairer outcomes. In truth, this spectrum doesn't exist. Both ends of the spectrum are just the free market playing itself out. At first, that probably sounds crazy, so just give me a few minutes to explain two common mistakes. Now, to be clear, in the modern day when people talk about socialism, including me in this video, they are talking about the government regulating and taxing a free market with the intention of making it more equitable. They are not talking about the Marxist definition of socialism where the workers control the means of production. Since the fall of the Soviet Union, there has been no major power that has any resemblance to true socialism. Even in China, what they call communism is really nothing more than an oligarchy that is trying to manipulate their economy. The first mistake is assuming that the government and the free market are opposing forces. They are not. In fact, they are entirely reliant on each other. For two reasons. The first is very simple, and the second is very important. The simple reason is because the government enforces the right to personal property. They prevent people from stealing. No one wants to invest or even buy anything if someone can just come along and take what is yours. If somehow a free market sprung up out of an area where there was no central authority, which has never happened, the first thing they would do is create government to enforce the right of personal property. You simply cannot have a free market if people can take what is yours. The important reason is to prevent monopolies. The free market is not without its flaws. Economists have long understood the problems of monopolies. Free markets thrive on competition, and it is the role of the government to encourage that competition. Monopolies do not fix themselves. They starve competition, which is the lifeblood of the economy. Now, the rest of what the government does, you may or may not find value in, but is that difference in preferences that is the heart of mistake number two. The most basic principle that all of economics is built on is the idea that individuals in a free market act to maximize their own utility. Now, what does utility mean? Even economists don't have a very good definition of it, so here's a bunch of words that are often associated with utility. But when I'm not talking to economists, I often use the term value. So in other words, people always act to maximize things that they find value in, which isn't always money. People find value or utility in all sorts of things, including companionship, the arts, or their health. The second mistake is believing that modern socialism is anything other than people trying to maximize their utility. The free market produces winners and losers, and thus inequality. To argue anything else is absurd. As inequality grows, those that find themselves at the bottom, along with those that are sympathetic to them, get to the point where there's enough of them to do something about it. They're naturally opposed by those that benefit from the current system. Now, you can call one of these groups the good guys, or the underdogs, or the capitalists, or whatever you want. But the free market doesn't care. Whoever outcompetes the other wins. Some people want as strong an economy as possible. Other people want healthcare and time with their kids. The free market is how we decide where to put our limited resources towards all these goals. Let's put it all together. The government and the economy exist as two symbiotic forces. Democracy is nothing more than an extension of the free market in the form of government. And all the individuals in these two systems are just acting to maximize their own utility. At one end of the spectrum, you can't love capitalism and then get upset when you get outcompeted. And at the other end, you can't take for granted the free market that made our sophisticated society a possibility in the first place. The free market is not some perfect system that we all ride to prosperity. It is the only functional crutch that humanity limps forward on. Now, if you're interested in where this conversation is going, then check out this other video where I correct a few other common mistakes. Stick around the channel for similar content, and I will talk to you soon.